Hey, what's up, everybody? BDF 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so happy New Year 2023. We've made it. I want to thank everybody, of course, for joining me on this journey through these therapy sessions and everything that is taking place this year. It's just been a very, very good year in terms of myself being able to live the way I want to live, doing things the way I want to do it, and just being able to stay consistent with my channel and the various things that I love to do, my art forms and stuff like that. I just thank everybody for really tuning in as they do. So this is a day where I felt pretty good, man. I didn't do too much. I slept early, which allowed me to be awake and fresh right now, which is kind of cool. It wasn't even planned out that way, but that's just what it was. I was able to have a nice day where I made a nice playlist, of R&B music that I thought was pretty solid, and proceeded to listen to it and do some art, you know what I mean, and work out, doing my regular routine with my squats and stuff like that, trying to keep this body in shape, and that's pretty much it, man. My night has been uneventful. I decided not to go out and do anything like that. Of course, if you guys follow me, you know I wouldn't go anywhere. But I've had many years where I have gone out. I'd had a lot of fun like that with buddies and going to different places, Vegas and Oakland and Frisco. I did New Year's in LA a million times, of course, and so I'm happy inside to this year, and so this was a night of a lot of peace for me. I ain't had no problems at all. I didn't have as much weed as I would have liked to smoke, but I'm okay with that. More than anything, I was able to do my art, listen to the playlist, and ultimately get that workout in, say some prayers, and I ended the night in a peaceful space. I was actually doing push-ups when the countdown took place. Believe it or not, I was working that aspect out. I may have told you guys how that process went, but it's one of those situations where last year around this time, probably around November or something like that, I was going through it, as you guys know if you were following me, all those therapy sessions. I documented how I was feeling. I was having a tough time, and so at that time my body wasn't in the shape I wanted it to be. My chest wasn't in the shape I wanted it to be. I was doing a little squats here and there, but my body was out of shape, man. I was really letting the depression show on my body, and so at that time I was just remember sitting down praying to the Lord, I was just thinking about the various things that I had on my mind, and I heard a voice in my head say, give me a few push-ups. And I knew my body could use a few push-ups, to say the least, but I think the most important thing was listening to that voice and allowing it to motivate me to begin something, not just get myself some push-ups for that moment, but to start the process of dedicating that to basically answering that bell, so to speak. You know what I mean? It's like that challenge that I heard in my head, which I believe came from the Most High. I believe that since I was in the middle of prayer when I heard it. But, for me, it was like, all right, I can give you these push-ups. And not only that, but I can give you some push-ups every time I come in here to use the restroom. So that's kind of my routine. Anytime I get in there for a number one, before washing my hands, I drop down and I give myself anywhere from 10 to 60 push-ups, whatever I feel like doing. But it's become a situation where that's a routine. And because it's dedicated to the Most High, I never deviate. You know what I mean? It's one of those situations where I'm doing it every time, with the exception of damn near midnight when I'm like crawling in there at 3 a.m. or whatever. But like throughout the day, that's my routine. So you figure, it's getting me to a position where I can finally start to develop, and my chest, which has always been a weakness of mine physically, and it was something I talked about a lot, which was as a young man, how I used to cover up my chest because I had such man boobs and stuff like that, and it was a real source of struggle for me mentally, trying to cope with myself and live with myself, and didn't really know how to work my chest. Wasn't really aware of how to get and take care of myself in that way. So as I grew older, as I become aware of what it took to get in shape, I felt myself so weak most of the time and so unathletic that I never really took the time to really work that area. It felt so foreign to do it, just like anything else is extremely weak and never had muscle. So as a grown man, I've taken the time to try to develop and get it together now. So it's been a good journey, though. I've been doing push-ups and stuff like that for 10, 12 years, but I never really hit the bench press like I know I would like to. So this has given me a chance to kind of develop that chest in a way that I never will deviate, because obviously what the reasoning is behind it. So that's what I was doing, man. Symbolically enough, that's what my countdown was. I was literally doing push-ups and then proceeding to hold myself down in the push-up position where you keep yourself low, as opposed to continuing to push back up. I allow myself to hold for like whatever the amount of seconds would be in comparison to the push-up reps that I've done. So if I've done 25, I'm gonna hold for 25. So it's that sort of thing. So I think I did like 50, and then I held for 50, and it was 12:59 when I went in there. So by the time I got up off the floor, it was next year. And so that's exactly how I spent the new year. It's exactly how I did it. And I wouldn't have it any other way, because for the last couple of years, what I usually do is pray. I'm usually sitting in the house. The last 4 or 5 years, I'm in the house. I don't do that going out stuff anymore. So I'm in the house. I usually say a prayer between, the countdown threshold. I'm usually not looking at nothing on social media that particular minute. And so this was like a form of prayer, I guess you could say, but it was more so, I guess it speaks to the connection that I feel I've developed with the Most High at this point. Because it's not about me looking to do something foreign, like praying, as if it's some type of event, like it's always been in my life. It ain't an event now, because the way that my life has been in isolation, I feel like I'm in prayer dang near all day long. I'm always talking to God, because there's no one else here. You know what I mean? So that's kind of how the relationship is for me throughout the entire day. I feel a oneness and togetherness with the Lord. So it's like, it's not me going down there to pray at the countdown. Not necessarily. Now it's more so like the relationship I've built with God allows me to have him a part of what I'm doing. And thus, I happen to be doing push-ups, which have been dedicated to God. So it's like, yeah, that's what it was, man. I'm in a very disciplined space as it pertains to where I want to be with my routines physically. All these squats and stuff that I'm talking about, I'm finally somewhere where I can say it's not a chore for me to do any of this at all. And that's where I want to keep it. That's where I want to keep it as I age. So this has been a good year for that, obviously, given the fact that I started that a year ago and haven't deviated. And so I'm pretty proud of that for what it's worth. And I think if you do something for God, it keeps you honest. You know what I mean? You're going to want to do it every day. You're going to want to dedicate yourself to it. You're not going to deviate from it. You're going to feel it personal to get it done. So that motivation has overcome me of some of my weaknesses. Some of the times where I didn't feel like doing any push-ups, I would convince myself to get down there and do maybe 3 or 4 or 5. And so what has happened is there's never a day where I ain't doing a push-up. It's just for the whole year. Ain't no day. And so that gives me that consistency that's never been there in my life. So yeah, man, I'm happy, and I think I'm well underway to being the hot old guy, which should make sense for what it is that I'm trying to position myself to become, which is someone I'm gonna see. So if that's the case, I'd better be prepared for the travel and everything that comes with whatever my life would entail. So I think having the right habits leading up to whatever it is that life provides will give you the best possible threshold for whatever it is you're not ready for. And that's what I try to condition myself to think about these days, is how to prepare myself for what I'm ultimately not aware that I should be ready for, or something like that. It's about praying prayers of about things that maybe are outside of my control or outside of my understanding. So that's kind of where my focus has been as of late. Just specifically, it's not a new thing, but it's just my focus. Just kind of taking care of things that are not necessarily within my control, or maybe I'm not aware of I can do something about. So yeah, man, just allowing myself to ramble as usual. Obviously, New Year's, everybody's enjoying themselves outside. I'm not upset about it. It's one of those situations where I'm used to it, you know what I mean? In fact, this is actually one of the more calmer years. It's usually much more loud than this. So yeah, man, it's vibrant. I had to close my window because it got a little cold. You know what I'm saying? It's one of the type of situations. It wasn't because of the noise at all, believe it or not. But yeah, man, I'm enjoying my day. First day of 2023, man. I can't believe that is actually a thing. I remember Y2K. Like, I'm old enough to remember the turn of the century, y'all. And I was old then. Like, I was already a grown person then. So to see how far and how fast life has gone, it's really strange. And then look in the mirror, you know what I mean? And I see myself, I've aged. You know, and I look at my friends, everybody's moving on their lives. You know, it's just it's a weird thing, you know. Talk about a friend of mine. Of course, you guys know about my friend Alexis, who passed away last month. You know, you just get to a point where you're like, how many more of these do you get? You know what I mean? And when you get to this age, you wonder. You really wonder. It's not about how many more do you get. It's just about, you've aged. You've gotten to a point where you can see the world behind you. You can see a lot. You know, when I look into my mind's eye, I can sit there for an hour and a half and think about stuff that happened. You know what I mean? Long time ago. And I think that's the difference between being younger and being older. A lot of times when I was a young person, I would struggle because it wasn't anything in my head that I thought had any use to it. It wasn't that I couldn't put things together like I can now. It was nothing there. You know, like there was no experiences that I could derive from, no wisdom that I could compare things together. It was just a lot of blah for my youth. A lot of times in my early 20s, I just didn't feel like I had lived enough to really have anything in there worth sharing. And so that was a struggle at the time, and I don't feel that anymore, man. That's over with the way that life has gone over the last 15, 20 years. That has given me a lifetime full of stuff to make up for that. And I don't have any regrets at all. I think that everybody's life is what it's supposed to be. I think about myself, and I think about, do I care if I get to experience certain things? You know, it's not that I don't care. It's just that can I live without certain experiences? And I think the answer is yes, depending on what they are. But I'm thinking about like having a family, having kids and stuff like that. And for me, it's just like, look, if I don't find myself having children, I still feel like I'm responsible for raising a village. And so when I speak into this camera, hopefully I can help with that in some way. And that's really what it is. That's why I try to keep my curses to a minimum. If you notice, I don't curse very much. It ain't because I don't curse in real life. I actually do quite a bit. But I just assume that someone's child is probably right next to them. And that's how I often think, And so that's why I don't curse very much. But you'll hear me curse here and there when I'm angry. But to be honest with you, I curse 3, 4, 5 times more than I do on this camera. It's just, I just don't find myself needing to do that. My mom raised me to think that there are other words you can use, convey yourself more properly, and not have your energy be misunderstood. Sometimes you use swears, people won't understand. Depending on what's going on, they won't know if you're angry or not, or what have you. So I was raised to believe that, and to try to find more colorful ways to speak. For me, the challenge is to get it to use less colorful words. I guess it's my challenge, but you know what I mean. I try my best to communicate, man. I've always prided myself on being someone who could communicate very well, but I've also prided myself on being somebody who needs to simplify things better. And I think that is an enhancement of communication. So if anybody hears me and says, man, that dude used a lot of words that are just overly used, too many words, he's too wordy or whatever, I agree. I'm trying to work on that. But there's a sweet medium too. You don't want to get to a point where you're too simple in what you're saying or too vague. There's a sweet medium. I'm going to find it. But yeah, man, I just felt like talking. I didn't really have anything poignant to say. A lot of times there's some deep meaning. The truth of the matter is 100% of the time I do these therapy sessions, I don't have a script. So if something great comes out, it's that. If it's this, it's this, but that's really what it is. I think at the end of the day, for me, the start of this year is about unknowns. Because last year, for me, I reserved the right to heal at my own pace. And a lot of that was done in a very, very, very unique and closed way. dare I say selfish. I say selfish because I stayed to myself, and didn't look to reach out to too many. And the reason why that was because I just didn't have it in me at all. I had had enough with everything at the time that I retreated into this house. Just about everything. And the only thing I really wanted to do was be here and feel better. That was it. And that's exactly what I did. And I stayed here until I did, and I haven't left. And I do feel better, but I haven't left. And there's a lot that goes into that. Of course, I've talked to you guys a lot about my motivation behind it and why I did all that I did in the way that I did it. But now that we're starting a new year, I'm just curious to see what the Lord has in store. He's brought me so far in regards to our relationship this year. I feel like I have a brand new relationship with God, even though I've always had him. It's a different thing now. It's like, all right, I'm with you. Not only am I with you, but I understand some things about being close to God that I didn't know about. How to view certain things that'll make it easier for me to stay close to him, as opposed to drifting away like I did the first 37 years of my life. I get some things now fully. So I don't think that I'm going to be going backwards in terms of my faith or how I view certain things. But I don't also believe that I desire to be a preacher. I don't desire to be somebody that preaches to someone, even though that's what I naturally do anyway. I don't want to be preachy. If anything, I want the world to be a certain way, I guess. And I see people using their energy in negative ways, looking for positive results in so many different avenues as I look into my camera. And I feel so very inspired to speak against that based on that relationship with God. And I think that's what's happening here. Every time I turn on the camera, I'm either talking about the Lakers or I'm talking about something that I think relates to him. And it's like, I don't want to turn people away because I know a lot of people don't believe in God. And we live in a world where it's hard to prove it. But with the stuff that's happened in my life, I don't think it's my job to pretend, like I don't believe or like I don't have certain things as a matter of fact as it pertains to my existence. I do have different types of intuitions and feelings and spiritual vibes, I guess, that I cannot necessarily deny just because the world may not relate. And that's kind of how I live my life. It's like there's certain things that I can't even really explain that drive me to be the way that I am. And maybe it's just as simple as saying is this person is traumatized or mentally ill. I think that's what a lot of people would say. But I also think that there's some things pointed at things around what it is that I'm doing that cannot be explained based on an assessment of my very own mind. You know what I mean? There's more going on than just what I am dealing with in regards to myself. And when I say people I'm praying for and various people that I speak about and the various things that they're becoming a part of, it looks as if there's something to that. You know what I mean? Something to that. This lady on the list, one of the ladies on the list, she named her new baby a name of another person on the list. It's like, maybe it's nothing, but it's not exactly a common name. It's not like Brandon. It's not a common name. So it's like, maybe it's nothing, but these are the type of things that I'm just continuing to see, these webs of connections. And maybe it's nothing, like I said, but I know it's not. I say maybe it's nothing to comfort those who would be turned off, you know what I mean, by listening to the words. Yeah, there's something to that. Because I think there is, you know what I mean? I think there is. I think there's something to numerology. I think there's something to patterns. I think the parallels are a lot. There's a lot to that. And being somebody that hasn't studied these things, I can only say there may be, you know what I mean? But it is what it is. I think that's what it is. For me, it's just understanding certain things inherently and then looking at the contradictions of the world around us in regards to those very, very, very simple things in regards to how good or bad it's supposed to be perceived or defined or what have you. I just am not confused by what I'm seeing. I have been for a long time, but as I look at it now, it's like there's certain things that are just not being viewed properly, and I think that's on purpose. And I'm hesitant to be confident in revealing all of that stuff at times, because I think that sometimes I may be misreading it, obviously, or could be unearthing something that may not necessarily need to be unearthed. Scratch and sniff, and you find something that here's the analogy I have for you. When you look, you're looking at your sock, and you see a little hanging thread there, and you pull on it, and you realize that you're pulling a loose damn near the entire for half of the sock, because that little piece is actually what's holding the entire thing together. Now, I know there's a lot of corruption out there. I know there's a lot of misdirection out there, and I know that there's a lot of manipulation out there as it pertains to how people view us and how they use their, various platforms, as we talk about all the time, to put things in our head and make us whatever it is, you name it, they're doing it mentally. However, some of the things that they may be doing may be purposeful. Some of that stuff, not everybody's a moron, you know what I mean, that kind of thing. Some people who are engaging in certain practices and certain things are doing them for very, very, very good reasons in their minds. I think the lack of communication on this earth makes it so that we don't always get to know what those reasons are, and that disconnect makes it so that people don't know what fights to fight a lot of the time. And so these are the type of things that I think about when I look at different pairings and say, yo, that's awry, that's awry, that's awry. What is awry and should stay awry? I don't know. There's no way of knowing if such a thing even should be. But that I can fathom such a thing leaves me uneasy about everything that I think I see. And this is why God is so important in regards to what it is that I do. Because the ignorance of my own mind, just like when I was 22 years old, it can leave me feeling empty at times if I'm not careful to not identify it properly, if it's ignorance, if I don't see it as ignorance and I think I'm bullheaded moving forward like I know what I'm talking about, that can obviously be a problem. But when you know there's holes missing to what it is that you're looking at, and you're the type of person that has pieces and has the ability to put pieces together, when you know you're missing something, it can leave you at a position to not really know what exactly the fullness of what it is that you're doing could be when you're unearthing things. And that's ultimately what I'm saying. You know what I mean? I just don't know what I'm tugging on sometimes. But I do know that what I see is awry. I do know that there's a string there, that kind of thing. As it pertains to how our minds work, is and that is in the specific area of media and how they ultimately like to target us and our heartstrings specifically. Things that matter to us, our race, our sex, our whatever. When it comes to stuff like that, I am not confused at all. People who are telling us to hate this person and love that person, all these different things that we talk about ad nauseum. I just want to normalize looking at evil stuff and calling it evil stuff. Not looking at it and saying, well, it's kind of evil, but it's okay. I mean, we're used to it because it's been going on for like 500 years, so this is just kind of how we move. I'm really, the older I get, with every passing day, I'm in this prayer life thing that I've been doing. With every passing day, that becomes more and more of a passion for me to just not coincide with, not get along with, not move along with, or none of that. The closer I get to God, the further I want to go on this journey of helping people in whatever way He will allow me to, specifically anything He wants me to do. But in my mind, it's about helping us free our minds, free our minds, free our spirits, free our hearts, untangle the webs of bad energy and what it can do to us versus what it should do for us when we engage in it. You know what I mean? How to not want certain things. That's a big one right there. I think we live in a world where the mind, if it's damaged, is looked at as something that can't at times be worked with, healed, or what have you. But the brain itself, as I learned, is just very, very, very fluid organ. It can adapt literally to what it needs to. Like it can adapt. I remember hearing a story about a man's brain in his head had moved back. I don't remember exactly what the story was. I think he had some type of head injury where his head had been crushed or something like that, but he didn't pass away, whatever the case may be. But the story goes that his brain actually over time positioned itself further back in his head to protect itself. Now, if its brain could do that, like physically actually move in his head, then I don't really understand what limitations the brain actually would be able to have. Not only as it pertains to what it can physically do, but also what it can put together. I don't think there are limitations at all. I think a lot of the limitations that we have are based on the limitations that we engage in our energy and in the denial of spiritual entities such as a God. When we deny the spiritual entity such as a God, and then we deny ourselves of an opportunity to be free of the mind, you're going to inherently just coerce yourself into some really, really messed up realities as it pertains to what sanity is defined as. And that's what I find. It's like, I have no interest in being sane in 2023 as it pertains to America, because I don't like what I see there. Y'all agreements, they got a lot of bad energy attached to it. Things that we are okay with. As I filter them through my spirit, I know that God's not pleased with none of this stuff. Half of it is like, nah, he ain't with none of it. Because he knows why it's in place. See, a lot of the people who engage in the folly, they're not angry about the folly because they don't know why it's there. They just think it's a lot of fun. They think of God as an entity just trying to keep them from having fun. But or an entity that's not there, so therefore they need to adhere to some random nothingness that's supposed to keep them from enjoying their lives to the fullest, which is not something that I can disprove for anyone. But unfortunately, because of the feelings that I have and what I've experienced in life, I gotta move as if that is some false that's some false stuff right there. I just don't have that as my reality. So for me, it became tough because I have friends that don't believe in God, you know what I mean? Or don't have a relationship with God, don't desire to. And so for me, as I continue to get closer to God, I realize I don't know how to be close to those folks like that no more. You know what I mean? It pertains to what comes naturally to me. I don't really want to engage in certain things that they do, even if those things used to be fun to me. Even if those things used to be things that I would like to be, involved in. I know what they lead to for me. You know what I mean? And that's really what it was. It wasn't about not wanting to be around those folks or not wanting to be around people who do those things. It was just about, I know if I'm around people who do those things for too long, bad things happen to me. And that's what it was. And so that's why I stopped going out on New Year's and hanging out with buddies and drinking and all that stuff, because I would end up being the one that had the worst night every time. They would attest to it too. A lot of the time, buddies would go out and they handled themselves better. When they drink, they didn't get too sloppy drunk. Me, I wouldn't be able to handle myself well. I was usually the younger one, so trying to kick it and stuff like that, drinking and smoking. And sometimes it would just end with me getting the worst of it. I'm the one with the punched eye. I'm the one with the cut head. I'm the one that threw up in the club. I'm the one that couldn't get in. It's like, for me, it's like every time I was going out, it was like a 50-50 chance something was going to go very wrong for me and everybody else was going to have a good night. And so when you start having that happen enough, it's like, I don't have the same experience as y'all do. Y'all about to have some fun. I'm looking at this like, okay, God, what is you about to do to me because I'm engaging in this nonsense? That's what it became, because I know that he wants me doing other stuff. For 37 years, it was like, okay, God, I want to do my own thing, but I don't feel good about my mindset, etc., etc. And it was always about him wanting me to walk in a different path, a different way, on some really unorthodox stuff. That's why I feel I have the mindset that I have, and the anxieties and all that stuff that I have, is because he wanted me to be a certain way. And so now that I'm living that way, it's like, well, I feel comfortable. You know what I mean? I'm absolutely comfortable. The problem is a lot of things that have to happen that are going to take me out of that comfort zone. You know what I mean? It simply is just not sustainable, as I've been telling you guys for over a year. It's never been sustainable. But the grand old but is, of course, with the possibility of things being as they are, with what it is that I got going on, if things can get better, you know, obviously that could change things for me. You know what I mean? Things can improve greatly immediately, as we know. So if you've been following me long enough, the situation at hand isn't looking great for that. But at the same time, it's like nothing's changed. The fundamentals are the same. And so we just sit here and hold what we hold and count the third year, because that's exactly what this is, year 3. And I ain't gonna be able to do it the way I did it the first 2 years. I can promise you that. It ain't gonna. If this thing don't pop very soon, I'm gonna have to get back to work or find another way to play. So it is what it is, man. That's why I enjoyed 2022 so much, because it gave me a full year to not have to worry about any of that. Not to say that I didn't have to worry about any of that, but I just chose not to, and was able to afford the grace of being able to sit here and not deal with any of it in any way. And you know what I mean? And as I prayed and prayed and prayed, I was told not to address it. And it's like, when you say you was told, it's like human beings are gonna be like, yeah, you might want to get some therapy. It's like, I know that part, but there's also the spiritual side of me. And see, that's what I was thinking about while I was making some art earlier today, while I was sitting there doing one of my pieces. I said to myself, I was like, I might have lost my mind, but I found my spirit. You know, I legitimately found it. You know, for all of the things that I've been trying to put together for this long period of time, when I was looking at myself as someone who didn't quite have it together, was unhappy, this or that. For whatever it's worth, I ain't unhappy. You know what I mean? I don't know how long happiness lasts. You know what I mean? But I'm not unhappy. And so that's what it's about. However I got to this place, however long it lasts, for what it's worth, I'm good. I just would like my good to last a bit longer. You know what I mean? And it's like a lot of times people they find this in other stuff. You know, a lot of people, it takes pleasing others to find what I found. The presence of others, seeing other people in approval or what have you. I just don't. I'm not wired, honestly, to even approach life that way. I really am not one to approach life that way. And I don't know that that's a good thing. I don't know that that's a good thing. Maybe I should be more considerate in that way, but you know, I just want to be alone 9 out of 10 times. And I think that in being alone, I can create things for others. You know, it's not like I'm alone and hibernating in sleep. Nah, I'm up doing this, which communicates with whoever watches it. The art, which if promoted properly can be seen by whoever wants to see it. The playlist can be listened to by everybody who has Apple. Go check me out, BDF on Apple Music, and at BDF. But it is what I choose to do. I choose to be in an isolated space by myself and then proceed to create things for others. That's what I want to do. That's exactly what I want to do. Artistically. Use my creativity to do as many different things as I can do. And I can do a lot of damn things. And some of them I haven't even really jumped into yet, like script writing, story writing, and stuff like that, which is something I think if I went down the path of starting it, I could get pretty good at it, just like everything that I'm trying to do, I believe, right now. Even the art. The art is the least talented thing I have that I've been trying to do at any consistent rate. I ain't got no real talent in art. I'll be the first to tell you that. But I'm a firm believer in doing something. If you do something a trillion times, even if you suck at it, you'll get some version of cohesive at it. And so that's what I've become. My pieces, it's almost 5,000 pieces at this point. And they're starting to look like something. You know what I mean? I'm starting to be able to have some method to the madness that I got going there. So, you know, some of those pieces are worth selling. I don't know. I'm not in front. Some of those pieces are worth promoting and selling, but that journey has not begun for me just yet. So that's what it is, man. I'm a creative who loves creating, man. And I'd like very much to just be in a position to have all the resources necessary to just let my mind go in that way. And if I have that, happiness is right around the corner for me. For whatever it's worth, man, I don't need much, and I've found that I don't need much, and I think it's because my mind occupies my interests. You know what I mean? I really do allow myself to be at peace in some very humble spaces, just because of my imagination. So it is what it is, man. You know, when you think the Lord has given you a lot, you don't need a whole lot, you know. And I think he's giving me a whole lot on the inside. I feel like he's giving me a whole lot. Even though I don't have a lot on the outside, even though I don't have a whole lot of money and stuff like that, the more I further dig into myself, the more I realize different stuff about myself that I can get with and that I can use to help others. You know, different things that I've just started to experience and develop in myself. It's like, all right, this is positive thinking. This is consistency. This is something someone can use to try to outlet from their pain or outlet from their whatever. So that's what I'm doing, trying to be a walking example of one way to find yourself outside of depression, I guess is what I'm saying. You know, without medication, without the meds they give you. All I needed was wedding cake, honestly. Wedding cake weed is all I need. No liquor. That's another thing I was thinking about. 38 years old. I don't drink, man. And it's not like I'm against liquor to the degree like, oh, I'll never drink. It's not that. It's just that I don't need it. I really don't have that trait in me to want to pick up the bottle. Even when I was depressed, I pick up some weed, pick up a Bible. I'm not the guy that goes to the liquor. And that's another reason why I don't hang out. I think liquor is something I really genuinely don't like, and it doesn't like me. I think it's more to what it is. Liquor doesn't like me. And so when I go out on New Year's Eve, when I'm going to drink water all night, I'm over that entire scenario. I think that is a wonderful thing for people to enjoy and be festive about. New Year's Eve is a wonderful, wonderful thing, and I will enjoy it again. But for me, in the mindset that I'm in 2022 going into 2023, that is so far away from what I wanted. You know what I mean? So far away from what I wanted. I wanted to be here, doing exactly what I was doing, taking care of myself. You know what I mean? Building my body, building my mind, building my brand. Literally, that's it. And for 2023, you know, I think the most important thing to me is to just keep that relationship with God, because I do a great deal of worrying about what my time is going to be like for this year, because I reserved all the time that I needed to do everything that I do, and because of it, it gave me the guys that I could keep it up. But for the rest of the season, I don't know if I'll be able to do this. I might probably have to start going to work. You know what I mean? So the process of me keeping this channel the way that I has, it's been grace that has allowed that. And now it's just like I don't know how I'm going to be able to do it in the same way for the rest of the season. We'll do it as much as we can, and we'll see what happens. But I just know my schedule is gonna force me out of the house one way or another. It's just going to force that. So I'll be here with you guys. You'll be with me, I guess, when we do go on these journeys, whatever they're gonna be. I'll keep my camera close, and I'll try to keep these therapy sessions going, just the same. And so that's what it is, man. We fighting corruption here. If anybody really wants to know what my stance is in life, we're just fighting corruption in every way we can, man. We're gonna fight it, and we're gonna learn, and we're gonna fight it some more, and that's what it's about, man. Protecting people, protecting children, protecting innocence, you know, praying for one another, doing some good deeds, overcoming some evil, and energy, whatever whatever can help us build, man. Because at the end of the day, that's really what I'm about. I don't think about too much about today. I think about tomorrow. As I said, the village that raises children is the village I'm a part of every day. So we got to just continue to think about what's going to be good for them, their environment. You know, we can't sit up here and say, oh, we love our kids, and then proceed to make their world crap, proceed to not give a damn, you know what I mean, about what the world will look like for their grandkids, things that they're going to that will matter to them. And see, that's another thing. It's like, when you say you love your kids, do yourself a favor and consider the fact that they're going to be concerned grandparents one day. Hear me good. because a lot of us only think about the generation ahead, but we don't think 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 generations ahead. But we're leading our very own little kids that we love very much into some very, very dark old man days where they're concerned about their great grandkids and climate change and things of that nature, their grandkids and climate change and things of that nature. You gotta understand that your very own child, the one that you're trying to comfort, crying and all that, you're gonna coerce them into some very old man tears for their own grandkids, for their own kids, because of some of the stuff that we engage in right now that we don't give two craps about. And that's what I'll be talking about. That's why I'm on what I'm on. In the various conversations I'm on, I'm like, look, I'm trying to attack that. I'm trying to attack that. I care a lot more, for some weird reason, I care a lot more about the future for others than I care about the present for myself. I don't know why that is. I don't know that's always been that way. But that's how I feel. I truly, truly want to talk and speak and do things for the future. Everything. Art, playlist, all of it is. Nothing is for today. You know, and it's important for me that it's not for today. And we've probably already said this, so forgive me if you've heard this whole thing before, but I just don't like the fact that everything's about the numbers. When a lot of the best stuff that I've enjoyed took time to enjoy. It took time for me to embrace it or absorb it or actually fall in love with it or whatever. So if it's all about the first week and the first section, and then half the time that first week stuff doesn't even last. You know, we look at some of these artists that are coming out right now, they're testing the waters on trying to do things to sell records. That's what I'm seeing some of my favorite artists are doing. They're testing the waters with the formulas, and it's selling the records, but the music, it's formula music, so it's not really going to last. It's not going to age, etc. So that's what we talk about, man. It's what we're on. I want to see stuff last. I want to see the return to value, the return to art forms, the return to scientific creativity as it pertains to these art forms, not just allowing machines to kind of create new cadences for us to reduplicate over and over and over and over again. And so, you know, that's what I'm hopeful will not just be our inevitable reality, given the fact that there is a real God. Hopefully he'll do something to try to provide us some balance as it pertains to where we're headed with technology and some of the stuff that people want to do. Some of these tools they want to use to create babies. You can pick your own child. You can make them 7 feet tall with blue eyes and brown skin. It's like, all right, that's really dope, but where does God come in? Are you sure this is what he wants you to do? Where does this end? Where does this begin? Are you sure that these people, these various, you know, things that you're doing, putting these different traits together, won't have an adverse effect when it's time for these people to fight certain diseases? Their immune system, is it gonna, you know what I mean? Is this gonna be a situation where because you're not God, you're gonna miss some stuff that God has when you make your new people? You know what I'm saying? This is stuff is like, it's not all just science, y'all. It's not all just, ooh, I can do this and I can split this atom and do this, and now I can put a pig's head on a dog's foot. Like, no, there's more to it than there's spiritual energy that is missing, and you can't incorporate that into what it is you're doing. God has to provide what it is that you're giving life to, a soul. And as he does that, they have some culpability and responsibility and different things that come with that or whatever. I don't know where it begins or where it ends, but the point is we're toying with it. When we talk about cloning people and start cloning and this and developing that, and splicing this and splicing that, I'm like, look, you're toying with energy that you have no understanding about at all. And it will have some consequences on our world, man. It's going to have some consequences. You know what I mean? It really will. So I pray about these type of things as well. As we continue to just lollygag and laugh our way into 2023 and all that. Everybody's just having fun, trying to figure out if snitching is bad or not. I'm like, man, we got real problems. And we're going to find out what they are. We're going to find out what they are very soon. You know what I mean? With the stock market as it is and the economy as it is, this year is going to be big for that. It's going to be big for that. You know, apes and all of that. If we've been talking about these apes, myself, been an ape since the day one, y'all gonna know all about that 2023. That's my prediction. Y'all gonna hear a lot more about that than you ever have. Because what's happening right now is the apes ain't been paid. Apes ain't been paid, and so on and so forth. I don't really want to get into that, but It's looking crazy for that. So as I should continue to hold, I just know I'm owed. That's the reality of it. I know I'm owed. Now, whether or not I live to see that money come into my hands or whether or not it'll go to somebody else on my behalf, who knows? The way these people are kicking the can down the road, I have my questions about whether or not the Lord will allow me to actually enjoy the fruits of that labor. I have my doubts, but I don't doubt that I'm right in regards to what I've assessed. I don't doubt that everybody who's holding has the right idea. It's just that the people who are fudging the numbers are fudging the numbers as always. Creating all types of misdirection, trying to scare people off near the holidays and all of that. So for me, it's just like, hey, God is good. I'm good in regards to my relationship with him. So whatever y'all want to do, take it up with him. You feel me? That's how I feel about it. If y'all want to continue to do wrong purposefully, then you're going to get what comes with that. I've been seeing people. I saw Monty Woodgrain, a comedian that I really like on YouTube. I didn't click on what he said there. I just looked at the caption. It said, karma does not exist or something of that nature. And I'm like, brother, I am living proof that that statement is false. And I know there are a lot of people, some of them I really, really like, who truly believe that there is no such thing as karma. Or they think because of God exists that he doesn't allow for karma. And I'm telling you, karma is not something that you can avoid. It's the balance of things. It's balance, fam. It's give and take. You will get back what's coming your way. Don't think that just because you ain't got it yet, that it ain't coming. That's the problem with karma. There's a lot of people who walk around and don't believe it's coming. It's coming, bro. Keep watching. Karma's not one of those things that you can afford to be wrong about. That's something that's very important and needed to be said. There's a lot of people running around believing this, believing that. But karma, you don't want to be wrong about that. You don't want to be wrong about that. So when you go around telling people that karma ain't real, know that you're telling them something that is not true. Know this. BDF 44 ain't lying to you about that. I'm not telling you what I think. I'm telling you what I've experienced, what I know, and I've seen repeatedly over and over again that has left me no room to be confused. Karma is a thing. It's real. It's an actual thing. And just because they ain't figured out the math to it doesn't necessarily mean that the math don't add up. It will. Just keep counting. So that's what I gotta say, man. That's pretty much it, man. I've said what I had to say. 38 years. I'm happy to be here. It's gonna be my 39th year on this earth. Last year when I was not happy to be here. So I've gotten this relationship with God. He's given me this confidence. He's given me this positive thinking. He's given me this vanity in the mirror. I look good, feel good thing. And I'm cooling. I'm cooling with it. I know it can go away just as quick as it comes too. So I am not held on to it. I look at myself as somebody who has got a very long way to go, but is discovering that he's got a lot of things that he can do for others if he's just able to get on his feet. That's what I need to do, is get on my feet. And part of that is choosing different things. Choosing to step outside. Choosing to speak to people. Choosing to get a job and work for others. And I just have yet to cross that threshold in my mind. The wanting to go back out there and humble myself to work. Yeah, I'm far and away from that. When I say far and away, far. But not as it pertains to the consequences of me not working, coming knocking on my door. That ain't far at all. So it's just the reality of what it is that I feel the Lord has asked me to do and how it looks as it pertains to this very moment right now. Standing on the edge of the Grand Canyon talking about God, catch me. It's not the easiest thing to do, but I've been standing there for 2 years and he has not let me fall yet. And I've been leaning the whole time. So make sense of it if you must. If this thing ends with the squeeze, then we'll know that all of this was really, really divine. You know what I'm saying? It'll be super divine once that happens. But I just hold, man. I just hold. I can't. I wake up in the morning. I tell God, I really hope you have a plan for me. You know what I mean? I really hope you have a plan for me, because I've been employing a lot of faith into you. I've been pouring a lot of faith into what I'm doing, and it looks terrible. And it's always looked terrible. But this is what I've been told to do. Apply faith, and even if it looks bad, you do not escape the truth, which is God is in control. He's guiding you, and you got to stay humble and patient in regards to what it is he's asking you to do, whatever that may be, specific to you. So only you know if he's talking to you and telling you to do something. And I know he's been talking to me and telling me to do this, and unfortunately it makes me look crazy. It leaves me in this position to be at a disadvantage financially, and also left me in a position to feel very, very accomplished with the time that I've spent here doing this. So take the good with the bad, and it's been a whole lot of good. So I cannot find myself a reason to complain to start this year. I hope you guys are having a fantastic start to yours, man. And I don't know what this year brings. The last time it rained this hard to start the new year was a very bad year, but it didn't rain in the countdown. It rained leading up to the countdown, so I'm kind of hopeful for that. Last time that bad year thing happened, it started raining as soon as the numbers hit 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It started raining around 5, 4. Like we were like, and the year was proceeded to be awful. So yeah, man, I think the rain actually stopped before the countdown, so hopefully that means something too. But anyway, man, I'm happy, and I'm thankful that I was able to get 51 minutes of talking out, and I hope I didn't annoy you guys too much with it. But it is what it is, man. This is the new year, man. 2023. This is what it's about. BDF 44. Thank you all for watching. I'm out.